This is Zash Raymond, and you are listening to the Fulham Focus podcast.
Fulham.
Hello, welcome to the Fulham Focus podcast. My name is Matt Boisclair, and it would seem that the dream of automatic promotion has been laid to rest this evening after a cagey stalemate with West Brom felt nearly as dull as when we played another Brummy side recently. Was that good enough? Joining me to talk it through is Eastbourne's king of innuendo, Matt Domm, and the star of the stats, it's Stato Matt Arter. What a beautiful little Matt threesome to get you through this. Let's do it.
Fulham.
Right, Stato, I'm going to come to you first. Dennis Adoy came in for Cyrus Christie in a kind of more defensive-minded move based on the fact that probably we were away from home. And even Cavallero came in for Harry Arter and played out wide. What did you make of the changes?
With the exception of Adoy, I think I was a bit underwhelmed and a bit annoyed at the changes. Adoy coming in was a good move. He's been playing since the restart, and I think last game he just kind of needed a rest. So bringing him back into the fold, I think that was always going to happen. But for me, it was kind of the midfield that Parker selected that really annoyed me. For the last few games, we've been going with the consistent three of Reed, Arter and Onoma, and it's worked perfectly. Like, it's probably been one of our best midfield combinations all season, I'd say. And if Arter wasn't going to play today, if he needed to be rested, then you had a fully fit and raring to go Stefan Johansson ready to replace him, and he would be able to do Arter's job of mopping up the midfield, putting in those tackles absolutely fine. But instead, he opted to put Bobby Reed in the middle, and I think that kind of fragmented our midfield a bit, and it didn't work as effectively. And it's a bit baffling by Parker because, like I said, the midfield was working so well. Why then change it up so much for a big game against West Brom?
Dom, do you think bringing in Bobby Reed into central midfield in place of Harry Arter worked, or do you think Harry Arter probably should have played this game?
Yeah, I think it's not where Bobby Reed plays best. I mean, other people would argue that he doesn't really play well anywhere, and they probably got a point because he doesn't really fit. But Arter has, as much as you guys know, I'm not his biggest fan, but he's been part of a consistently good midfield, as Arter just said. And I want to go for consistency at this point. I think we need to just make sure we're in form when the playoffs come around, and I think part of that is keeping the same team that's playing well. I get that he might be wanting to rest a few players because all of a sudden there's 2 games a week. And it will still be 2 games a week until the end of the season. But we lost something today, I think, because we didn't have control of that midfield.
And Stato, we've kind of tinkered with the team all season, haven't we? Like, when Ranieri was our manager last season, he was known as the Tinker Man, but I always feel like Scott Parker's even more of a Tinker Man because he doesn't keep the same team from one game to the next. And I feel like the midfield is probably the one thing that's been our strongest point over the last few games with Arter, Reed and Onoma. And to keep Bobby Reed in that side just for the sake of keeping him in the team is bizarre. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I looked at some stats that I've been working on, and we've used, I think it was 15 different midfield combinations. And it might have been 16 today with the new one of Reed, Bobby and Onoma. And likewise, we've used lots of different defensive combinations. And with Parker, it always feels like, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And it felt like we had our midfield. We had our best midfield sorted out for these last few games. It was kind of evident that Onoma was thriving and Arter, love him or hate him, he was doing a job. And the defence was coming together nicely. And Mitrovic was back, and kind of the only question marks left was what 2 wingers do we play and who are the most effective? Because at the moment, Knockaert, Cavallero, Bobby Reed, Cabano, none of them are performing particularly well. So then to try and play all three of them at the same time, it was just a bit baffling, really.
Let's not mess around though. Cabano isn't in the same league as the other players that you just mentioned, is he? I know Cavallero going off was unfortunate today, and he was injured. But for the only option to replace him to be Cabano, it's just a bit shit, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can't really blame Parker for that. You look at our bench since the restart, and we have very few attacking options available on the bench, and you just it's unfortunate, but yeah, we need to be getting more from those attacking players.
I've been highly critical of Abubakar Kamara for the last couple of years, but you kind of realise almost how much better than Cabano he is when Cabano comes on at half time and he's just completely ineffective. And Abubakar Kamara, at least he's got pace, and at least he's got pace and power. Whereas Cabano, he was a little bit powder puff in all honesty when he came on today, and it just wasn't the sort of game to bring him on in, was it, Domm?
No, he's not good enough. But as you say, it's not really his fault. It's quite amazing that he's still here. Really, he's only ever been a substitute, and he must have been in 4 years now. And if it was getting rid of one of Cabano or Ise, then I'm surprised it wasn't Cabano, because Ise at least seemed to be a better player to me. But it is what it is, and I think what is on the other side as well. We've got a problem because Knockout, his defenders will say he helps out at the back, which he does, and he works hard, which he does, and I'm not denying that. But I want him to be effective at the other end of the pitch. And I just wanted to see him go the other side around a defender one time. But he cuts in so much. Imagine how much of a surprise it would be for a defender if he went down the right one time. They're all stepping inside, waiting for him to cut in, and he does it every time. It's too narrow. It's not working. But we were talking about our attack not working very well. We've kept 4 clean sheets in a row, and part of that is that we're defending more as a team, and you will inevitably lose something going forward doing that, I think. So it's a balance, isn't it?
It is. You can't complain about keeping 4 clean sheets in a row, but we're going to anyway, because that's what we're here for. So anyway, let's just go back slightly to before Cavallero got injured and talk about probably one of our best chances of the game, which came after about 20 minutes when Knockout crossed the ball in and Cavallero headed the ball. He did really well, actually, not only to keep the ball in, but to control it back across the goalkeeper's head and towards the back post. And if Bobby Reid had kind of gambled on that, then perhaps we'd have scored. And I thought we had scored, actually, because the camera angle was so far away. But the West Brom defender, Higazi, saved the J-Mac's a big fan of Higazi. Stato, did you think we scored then? Did you think Bobby Reid could have done a bit better?
It's becoming a bit of a recurring theme, isn't it, with Bobby Reid and close chances. I think in this instant, there's not much you could have done. It was just wrong place, wrong time. Cavallero did extremely well to get a header to loop over the keeper to get it into that position. But other than that, Cavallero was kind of a bit of a ghost, and then obviously he went off injured. And yeah, the fact that was kind of the only talking point and the only chance in that first half kind of illustrated how poor going forward we were, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think, Dom? Were you expecting us to go for it a bit more in the first half, or did you think that we just kind of soak it up in the first half and then go for it in the second half?
Yes, it's sort of been a theme where I think as a group we seem to be talking about a cagey first half an hour and without much happening. That seems to be the way it goes, but it tends to be in recent games that we've kind of stepped up from around that point. And I think it went the opposite way this time. Before the drinks break, we were the better team, and then sort of the second half of the first half, they improved and looked like they were likely to score. I was expecting us to go for it, because you look at that game and they've got Brentford breathing down their neck. They've got a home game against a team who, with an outside chance of going above them in the next couple of weeks, if they lose, the pressure was all on them. We didn't have any pressure because we were going into this game not expecting much, but we might as well have given it a go. And I just don't think, even though a point away to West Brom is a good result, is a good result. It's just not what we needed, and I don't think it's what we should have gone for. But it looks like that's what we played for, and that's the result we got. So maybe Scott's thinking ahead to the playoffs and how we might play against the better teams away from home.
Stato, do you think that we should have played tonight more like a cup final, or do you think it was just going through the motions?
I think it was a typical Parker performance, and that's not what we needed on a game like today. As Domm said, the pressure was all on West Brom. They needed to get a win or a point just to stay ahead of Brentford. And for us, this was our last chance to try and sneak into the automatics. It was always going to be a slim chance, a very slim chance, but that slim chance was dependent on us winning today. And the fact that we just didn't put anything into it, and Parker set us up to be so defensive and passive, it's a bit of a worrying sign, because when we do get to the playoffs, is this how he's going to set us up as well? And are we just going to play for the draw and try and nick a goal? Because if so, that's a dangerous game to play, and it won't be particularly enjoyable for us or indeed the players probably.
Yeah, it's happened quite a few times this season, hasn't it? Where we can see that Parker's a more defensive manager and he likes the 1-0, but when we have gone behind, we've struggled this season. Similarly to how if we've gone ahead, we've tended to do well. But it's a dangerous game, as you say, in the playoffs. If you go behind, it's a big ask against the quality of the teams that's in the playoffs.
Well, I was talking to J-Mac earlier, and I just wonder whether this evening Josh Onomah had an off night, or whether perhaps it was a game better suited to Tom Cairney if Tom Cairney was in form. Josh Onomah's obviously been in some form lately. And it just seemed like tonight he was very quiet. I don't know whether that was testament to how well West Brom played and how well they kept him out of the game, or whether he was just having a quieter game. What do you think, Stato?
I think with the case of Onomah, it largely comes from the team selection again. If in the last few games he's been playing so well because he has Harrison Reed and Harry Arter in the midfield, protecting the back line, kind of almost doing all the dirty work whilst he can flourish and make runs forward and be that creative output. Whereas today he was almost forced to do the Harry Arter role, being the box-to-box midfielder, whereas Bobby Reid could do that. Now, if we had played Arter or Johansson, I have no doubt Onomah probably would have had a better game and would have been more effective. Likewise, had we had Cairney available, he would have been highly effective as well. I've been a massive kind of speaker that Onomah has been playing better in the midfield than Cairney and should be playing ahead of him. But that's not to say that Cairney shouldn't be in the team whatsoever. He's a fantastic player to have and a fantastic asset. And in a game like this, he would have been perfect to have brought on to change the game, to kind of try and carve open that West Brom defence. So not having Cairney was a big miss, and not playing Onomah in the correct position was also a big flaw as well, I think.
All right, maybe our best chance in the second half was when Anthony Knockaert took a punt and hit the crossbar. I missed the chance because I was busy talking to you lot on bloody WhatsApp and just heard the crossbar rattle. How did you think Anthony Knockaert did today? I thought he did okay. I thought he's been all right in the last couple of games, and on another day that might have flown in over the keeper. And if it had gone in and we'd won 1-0, then we'd be having a very different conversation now, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we would. He just frustrates me. You can see every game there's a good player in there, and he's proven in the past that he's a good player at this level. We just haven't seen it, and he tries really hard, and he's probably trying too hard. But all it would take probably is something like that to have gone in. Much like all it probably would have taken for Bobby Reid to pick up form would have been Smithies not to make that world-class save last week. And if that had gone in, then maybe it starts a run of games and goals and whatever. But he needs something to happen. Maybe it's kind of building up to being the hero in the playoffs. Who knows? But
it might be. But for the amount of shots he's had on goal this season, and for the amount of goals he scored, what's he got, like 4 or 5 or something? It's not enough, is it?
I think it's 4. Yeah,
10 million quid we've just paid for him in the championship for 4 goals.
I'm with
Bad.
you. It's not. He hasn't been good enough. He hasn't been the player we've expected, and I don't really know. I don't really know what it is. It's like he's lost a yard of pace or something. He's so predictable. His cutting onto the left and shooting from the edge of the box is about as predictable as Alfie Mawson missing out through injury, isn't it? It's just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. He frustrates me more than any other player on the team, I think, at the moment, because I expect so much more of him, I think.
Yeah, there were. I mean, he always seemed to score against us, didn't he, when he was playing for Brighton? And now he's signed for us, and he's just one of those. Let's not go over it again. We've been through it so many times. Greedy bloke, keeps the ball, shoots, hits it over the bar.
He made the games always about him when we played against him. Like even when he wasn't playing well, he'd win fouls and be annoying and get our players booked. And he seems to be the one getting booked now. I don't know. He's not.
Now he's signed for us. He's still being annoying. what can you say about the bloke?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's come on to the end of the game then. 89th minute. Cyrus Christie came on for Tim Ream. That was when we decided to go for 3 at the back. Surely, at this point in the season, when we had the chance to go 2 points behind West Brom with 2 games to go, we should have been going for the jugular much earlier than this, rather than leaving it to the last couple of minutes. So it's beyond belief for me. I can't believe we left it so late. What do you think, Stato? Should we have really gone for this after about 70 minutes, really gone for it? I mean, for me, I would rather have lost 3-0 on the counter-attack than just had a dreary 0-0 in this game. It's just almost typifies the season, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it sums up Parker and the way we've been playing quite well. I get that he wants to set up defensively, and on the face of it, getting a draw against a top 2 team, it's not a bad result. And keeping a clean sheet away from home, sure, that's great. But the fact that we needed to win this game and we had nothing to lose, for once, Parker, why didn't you just go for it? We had nothing to lose. Sure, we could have got hammered and our confidence might have got dented a bit, but with the knowledge that we were going for it, the players wouldn't have been too fussed, I think.
I think. Sorry, mate. I was going to say. I think at worst we get hammered, and he goes, "Oh, yeah. See, that's why I don't want to set up to play like this." And he justifies, his own kind of mindset, really. But he doesn't seem to change. He doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't do it, does he?
Yeah, like I said, it's so frustrating with Parker because we were in such a good position, and then we have just a drab result like this, and it feels like we're back to just stage 1 again of just boring Parker football and frustration from the fans.
All right, mate. Well, it looks like the automatics are all but over. Dom, do you think we're in a good place going into the last... Well, we're going into the last couple of games. We've got Sheffield Wednesday, then we've got to play Wigan, who won 8-0 at home tonight, which is just a complete anomaly of a result. But then we're going to have to go into the playoffs, possibly playing Nottingham Forest, who are the team below us. Do you think we're in good shape?
I think we are. I mean, as disappointed as we are with the result, it was more the manner of the result, I think. It is still a good point. And we won 4 in a row. And then, was it 3 or 4? I can't remember anyway.
4. We won 4.
We won 4 and then drew, right?
Yeah, we got 4 QPR, Birmingham, Nottingham Forest, Cardiff.
Yeah.
And then tonight.
Yeah. There we go. Well, the draw tonight. Yeah, we'd won 4 in a row. And then drew tonight, and we've had 4 clean sheets in a row. So really, when you look at it that way, we're in good shape for the playoffs. But it's just bizarre that it just doesn't feel like we're flying, when a lot of teams will be looking at our form and looking at our results, away, beating Forest away, drawing away to West Brom, beating Cardiff. These are teams in the top 6. We should be really confident with that form. I'm not quite sure why it doesn't feel that way, but maybe it will when the playoffs come around. Because when we played Forest, I saw really nothing to be that concerned about. And even West Brom tonight, they weren't that good. They were beatable. And on our day, we could easily beat them. So I don't think there's anything to fear, and we could do it definitely.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we've got anything to fear, but I feel like teams will look at us and think, God, we really don't want to play Fulham at the moment, because they'll look at us probably not watching our games, but they'll think they have a lot of possession. They've got some big name players. They've got Mitrovic. They've got Bobby Reid. They've got, I don't know, Tom Cairney, Onoma, Knockout, Cavallero, all these big players who have been promoted before, and you know, they just won't want to play against us, not having watched our games. And I think we will have a psychological edge, I think.
Yeah, I think that'll go to our advantage, because we're better against teams who, we seem to be better anyway against teams who don't want to commit too many players forward. We've been undone by Leeds and by Brentford, who are attacking teams, but against Forest and West Brom, who are more, well, certainly West Brom are more defensive minded, and Cardiff, who are defensive minded, we looked all right. So, and in the playoffs, getting a result away, and we come third or fourth, we're away first, we're in a good shape.
I think so. I think we may have to play West Brom again if they screw up the last couple of games and Brentford nip in there. And we may have to play Forest again. We may have to play Cardiff again. All these teams that we've recently done okay against. So I don't think it's that bad going into the playoffs, but it's an old cliche, but it is a lottery, isn't it? Anyway, all right, let's come on to a Scott Parker rating for this evening then. Stato, what's your Scott Parker rating tonight?
I'm going to have to go quite low, I think, because this was our last chance and we really should have gone for it, but we didn't. And a lot of that was Parker being too naive, too cautious. So I think 3 out of 10, I think, just because we didn't go for it and the changes he made were too little, too late, and too ineffective, really.
I mean, Dom's making a face as if to say that's really harsh, but the last couple of games, I've given Scott Parker a 10, and I'm going to go low as well, because I really feel like we should have gone for this tonight, like it was a cup game, and we just didn't. We never went for it, and I think I'll go one higher and go for a 4, but I was disappointed tonight. What do you reckon, Dom?
Yeah, I mean, I'm normally quite harsh. 3 or 4 points off for being so dull, and changing the midfield when I don't think it really needed to. But I do understand that potentially it's a good time to start using the squad. And even if we won, I'm not that convinced we would have gone up second. But it was dull, wasn't it? It was boring. So I was weighing up 5 or 6, and because you guys are so low, you've brought me down to a 5, I think. It just wasn't. It wasn't the performance I was hoping for, but it was the performance I was expecting, I think. I don't think, even though you guys were hoping we would go for it, I don't know if either of you really realistically think we actually were going to. Don't know.
It's a real shame, isn't it? It's a shame. Yeah, no, I think that's completely fair. It's just a bloody shame, isn't it? But again, it sums up this season. We've pulled out results consistently throughout the season, but just not quite up to that level of excitement that you'd want. And yeah, it has been dull, and that was that tonight. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to a Sheffield Wednesday preview. We have got another game on Saturday, which is quite easy to forget. We've got 2 games left to get through before we have to go through the playoffs. So let's look at Sheffield Wednesday.
Fulham.
All right, Stato, it's Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. How do you see the game going?
So, because of the result against West Brom, it's unfortunately a bit of a nothing game now, really. We don't really have much to play for. I suppose we want to solidify either 3rd or 4th in the playoffs so we can play away first. But other than that, there's not much to play for. Sheffield Wednesday are kind of in mid-table at the moment. They haven't got much to play for. They should be safe from relegation now. The only thing that could potentially put a spanner in the works is the fact that there are rumours going around that Sheffield Wednesday may be going into administration. which would give them that minus 12 points deduction. And for Warner, there's been reports that they might get additional points deducted due to some dodgy accounting jiggery-pokery with their sale of their stadium. I'm not going to go into the details, but it basically means they could be facing a further points deduction. So they might be looking over their shoulders a bit, and they might be wanting to get a win just to make sure that any points deduction won't mean they get relegated in any way. But these are all ifs and buts, really. So, but other than that, it's a bit of a nothing game. Just looking at Sheffield Wednesday, how they've coped since coming back from the restart. They've only won 2. They went on a 3-game losing streak, but they beat QPR at the weekend. And they are currently playing Huddersfield at the moment as we do this pod. Who knows what the result will be, but if it's a win, they'll be on a 2-game winning streak coming into this. So, yeah, like I said, there's not much to report on, to be honest, because we've kind of made these last 2 games for ourselves a bit of a nothing game. I guess it's an opportunity for Fulham to rest some players, maybe try some new stuff out. But yeah,
I don't think I want us to rest too many players or try anything at this stage. I think it's really important that we keep winning, keep not losing, maybe keep our form up, play well heading into the playoffs, because at this point we're 2 weeks away from the playoff semi-finals. Maybe if we start playing players who aren't going to be in those games and we lose, there might be rustiness, there might be a drop in morale by the time that comes around. So let's just go for it. Let's keep trying to win the games.
Yeah, and I think one key thing that I'd want to do is to try and keep our defence tight. We haven't conceded a goal now in 5 games, not since the Leeds game. So if we can keep up not conceding a goal, get these clean sheets.
We conceded a goal in the first minute at QPR, but we haven't conceded one since then.
The QPR one. Yep, forgot about the QPR goal. So yeah, we haven't conceded since then, which is still a pretty impressive record. So if we can keep that up going into the playoffs, that will breed a lot of confidence into the defence. And looking at Sheffield Wednesday's attack, their top scorer is a 33-year-old Stephen Fletcher. Remember him? He's on 13 goals at the moment. And other than that, they've got Jacob Murphy, his twin brother Josh, played against us for Cardiff the other day. Jordan Rhodes is also playing for them as well. He's on 3 goals. And yeah, from the looks of things,
he used to be brilliant, didn't he? He used to be brilliant.
A long time ago. They've also got Dean Windas's son, Josh Windass, playing as well. I've also got Connor Wickham. He was meant to be some wonder kid for England, but that hasn't turned out well for him. So yeah, looking at their attack,
strikers who are no good. Basically.
They got a lot of average has-been strikers, but Gary Monk, who's the manager there. Yeah,
up against a defence who hasn't conceded for the equivalent of 5 games, no problem, no danger whatsoever.
What could possibly happen here? Yeah, I wonder.
But yeah, I think the key thing for us here is to not concede, try and get that win, and kind of keep the momentum going.
I think not conceding is the one, because as much as I've not hated, but as much as the way we've been playing this season has been boring, I think I'd much rather we kind of beat teams 4-3 than beat teams 1-0. At this stage, I think not losing games is the number one thing. So if we can go through the next 2 without losing, then we're in really good shape, because that will be 7 without losing in a row, which is pretty impressive in this league.
I also think it'd be useful if Brentford can slip up, if we can get 3rd place. Not that I'm scared of Nottingham Forest in any way. I think we could easily beat Nottingham Forest over 2 legs. But whoever finishes 6th will be a lot weaker than Forest, and that will be a big boost for us if we can finish 3rd. So, yeah, if we can try and keep up winning and hope Brentford slip up, that would be nice.
Well, it's not in our hands anymore, unfortunately, which is a shame. But that's the nature of the beast. So the real shame for us is the slow way that we start seasons, and this is a mini season, and we did start it very slowly with that defeat to Brentford and then the defeat to Leeds. And then obviously we've got on this run now, and that, as I said earlier, no teams are going to fancy playing us at the moment. But yeah, that's where we are. So, all right, well let's. I'm not even going to bother going on to a kind of a team prediction, because who knows what team Parker's going to pick. It'll probably be a variation on what we saw this evening. I don't think there'll be a mass change. Stato, what do you reckon the score's going to be? Home to Sheffield Wednesday.
I think it will be another classic Parker Ball boring game, and we're playing a 15th place Sheffield Wednesday. It's got a scrappy 1-0 Fulham all over it, hasn't it? I think, with a Mitrovic header or something. So yeah, 1-0.
Yeah, that'll do. I'll take a win. All wins are good at this point now. What do you reckon, Dom?
I think a 2-0. We just need to be winning against Sheffield Wednesday more than 1-0, don't we? It's just they're crap, and we're supposed to not be crap. So let's try and not make it difficult for once. But that's what I'm hoping for.
I'd like to think that the shackles are off now, and we can just go out and give them a good pasting. So I'm going to go 4-0. It'll be another kind of Millwall performance where we just keep the ball. No one's under any pressure. We can just go out and play, and we can hammer them. But if it's not 4-0, then don't blame me. Good stuff. All right, lads. Well, thanks for joining me. We'll be back at some point after the Sheffield Wednesday game this weekend, probably on Sunday lunchtime-ish. So keep an eye on the social media posts and share anything that you see. If you could do that, we'd really appreciate it. And until next time, then thanks very much. See you soon. Cheers.
Fulham.